Well, I want to begin by sharing with you a little vignette that a fellow wrote. It said, "So we were lying on our backs on the grass in the park next to our hamburger wrappers. My 14-year-old son and I watching the clouds loiter overhead when he asked me, 'Dad, why are we here?' And this is what I said. 'I've thought a lot about it, son, and I don't think it's all that complicated. I think maybe we're here just to teach a kid how to bunt or eat sunflower seeds without using his hands. We're here to pound the steering wheel and scream as we listen to the game on the radio 20 minutes after we pulled into the garage. We're here to look all over, give up, and then find the ball in the hole. We're here to wear our favorite sweat-soaked Mariners cap, torn Seahawks sweatshirt, and Nike sneakers we lettered in on Saturday morning with nowhere we have to go and no one special we have to be. We're here to tie the perfect fly, make the perfect cast, catch absolutely nothing, and still call it a perfect morning. We're here to nail a yield sign with an apple core from half a block away. We're here to win the stuffed bear or go broke trying. I don't think the meaning of life is gnashing our bicuspids over what comes after death, but tasting all the tiny moments that came before it. We're here to be there when our kid has 3 goals and an assist, and especially when he doesn't. I don't think we're here to make Sports Center. The really good stuff never does. Like finding ourselves with a free afternoon, a little red 327 fuel-injected 1962 Corvette convertible, and an unopened map of Washington's back roads. None of us will find ourselves on our deathbed saying, 'I wish I'd spent more time on the Hibbings account.' We're going to say, 'That scar? I got that scar stealing a home run.' See, grown-ups spend so much time doggedly slaving toward the better car, the perfect house, the big day that will finally make them happy, when Happy just walked by wearing a bicycle helmet 2 sizes too big for him. We're not here to find a way to heaven. The way is heaven. Does that answer your question?" And he said, "Not really, Dad." And I said, "No?" And he said, "No, what I meant is, why are we here when Mom said to pick her up 40 minutes ago?" You know, reality shows up when we're in the middle of our philosophical expressions and whatever you want to call that in our dynamics. And the truth is that I think that the things that we are aware of that are most important in our life, the things that show up when we talk about the memories that we have, or when we're waxing nostalgia over the experiences of what it is that we've been doing or what's going on in our life experience, are not the things that were given to us, but rather the times that we gave to others. It's the times when we extended ourselves into the life of someone else and made a difference in their life, or changed an experience that they had, or something occurred. And oftentimes we think of this whole process of giving as some sort of a sacrifice that we make. That when we give of ourselves, or when we give to somebody else, that often it goes on the scoreboard as one of those sacrifices. Well, I had to sacrifice in order to give this to you, or I had to give this up in order to do that, and that's sort of how we look at it. And I wonder, the whole thing about raising children, is raising children really a sacrifice? Oftentimes I hear people, and I've said, used those words, but I think raising children is not about what it is that we sacrifice or what it is that we give to them. It's really about a journey and a process that shows up in our life of finding ourselves. And it doesn't matter whether it's our own children or whether it's the interactions or experiences or support that we give to other children. I think what's really happening in us is this whole process of self-discovery that's occurring about our own life and our own experience and what's going on. Because when we are engaging with children, or when we have children in our life, we are really becoming vulnerable to the wisdom and the energy and the love of God. Someone once said that to have a child is like having your heart walk outside your body for the rest of your life. And so in that context, we recognize that there is a process that occurs in our experience. I think these things that show up in our life, or these experiences that show up in our life, are really God's gift to us to give us the opportunity to find out who it is that we are and how it is that we are to show up in the world. In August, last Saturday, in fact, I wrote this in the newsletter. Last Saturday, on our way home from vacation, Karen and I dropped our youngest, our baby girl, Caroline, off at the University of Idaho to begin her college journey. They had she's going to play soccer for them, and so they had start of soccer camp. And so Saturday we dropped her off, 100-degree weather, and then we headed back home, knowing that she was, for the first time in her life, she was on her own. And that was a pretty profound moment and experience. And I was sort of lamenting when that was going to occur. There are times in my life when I thought, I can't wait till she's in college, that experience. And then there are times when I dreaded that moment or that day because she is the last one. It's one thing, the first one or the second one, but when you have 4 children and the last one goes, that's the one when you really experience it. And so I was, this week, sort of feeling lost in a maze, once we got back home, and you feel the void and you feel the experience. And I described it to somebody, I said, I feel like I'm having an acid trip in slow motion. And that's the way it was about the first 4 days of this week. And then all of a sudden on Friday morning, I just snapped out of it. It's just like, I'm done with that experience. I just moved to a different level, and all of a sudden I look back, and Caroline called Friday. She finally calls Friday. I talked to her, texted a couple times, because that's the way she likes to communicate. So she called Friday, and it was her first day of 2-a-day practices, and she called up, and she was just totally exhausted. And she said, one of the things about being here, she said, is that they give you all these uniforms, $3,000 worth of gear that each one of the players gets from Nike. And so she said, after practice, you throw your dirty clothes in the laundry basket, and when you come to the next practice, it's all washed and hung up in your locker for the next practice. And I said, whoa, that's pretty nice. You're at a different level and a different experience. One of the things that I realized that I knew I was missing was I no longer had the opportunity to give to her in the way in which I had been giving. That doesn't mean that I'm not giving, because college, with college costs, you're giving. You're the ATM machine when something needs to take place. But it's the day-to-day little things. It's the moment-to-moment encounters, when they come in the door and they need this and they need that, or you're taking them here, you're dealing with that, or they get a flat tire, all the stuff that you do that sort of shows up in the process of living your life. And that's what I'm going to miss. Those are the moments that I will most miss in my experience. Because every opportunity that shows up in our life where we have the chance to give something to somebody is a profound moment that affirms who it is that we are and why it is that we're here, why we've shown up in this life experience. In the book that I'm using over the next, actually through the end of September, The Power of Giving, by Azim, Jamal, and Harvey McKinnon. Now, both of these authors are actually from British Columbia, Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, so they're not far away, and they wrote a very powerful book on giving. And they point out in that book the tangible and the intangible process around what giving means. And so they kind of laid out what are the things in which we experience as a result of living our life out of a consciousness of showing up in a giving sort of space where we have giving experiences.